he said, don't take action. It's so rare. Usually the point of this speech is to galvanize Congress to do things. It was extraordinary to hear a president say congressional action will not be necessary. So in a lot of areas, he was inviting Congress to not do anything and just to continue to follow him.
President Trump delivered the longest State of the Union speech in history last night. At the heart of it was the economy, but he also addressed the Iranian regime, hailed the overthrow of President Maduro in Venezuela, while defending the use of tariffs and arguing that his administration's approach is working overall.
Tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages.
And the audience didn't just sit there silently, there was some protest.
These for public officials who blocked the removal of criminal aliens, in many cases drug lords, murderers all over our country. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Representative Ilhan Omar from Minnesota repeatedly accused Trump of having killed Americans, referring to the shootings by immigration agents of Alex Pretty and Rene Good in Minneapolis. Overall, the president claimed in his speech that under his leadership, America is bigger, better, richer and stronger than ever before. Well, we're now joined by Mike Ricci, GOP analyst and former speechwriter for two speakers of the US House, John Boehner and Paul Ryan. And he was the speaker, Paul Ryan was the speaker during Trump's first term. So we're going to unpack last night's speech. Mike, thank you for joining me.
Daniel, great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
So I've also done a lot of speech writing, and when a speech lasts for an hour and 48 minutes, that makes you think, well, I wonder whether they really finished writing it.
Well, it's better to think now, I think, of it as something, not that he delivers, but that he programs. You think of the early portion was sort of the morning show portion with the awards and the promotions. The middle, you played sort of the panelists shouting over each other. That was the meaty portion. And then the primetime part with more of the stunts and the perorations. So for a long speech, it did have a sense of programming to it. And even for a long speech, not too much news, so it's incredible that he filled almost 2 hours.
Did he fill? Did he take the room with him? Did he hold the room for that period? I noticed that Gavin Newsom of California, who of course would say this, but he just put it was very boring. And I think an hour and 48 minutes, that does sound to me quite boring.
Republican members certainly did their part to applaud and stand up a lot. And I think that is what they wanted. They wanted kind of a pep rally for them. It's an unsettling time with where the polls are and the election. And I think Trump, to try to keep the room going, he engaged the Democrats directly, prompting them at one point to stand and applaud if they liked this or that line. And so it is actually, for what it's worth, the best I saw at filling that chamber was Netanyahu, just like very Churchillian way of kind of commanding the whole chamber. It's a small chamber, so it's difficult to do. But in Trump's case, he tries to make up for that with the way that he used the whole chamber, the hockey team behind him. So he was trying to use the space, but it was definitely primarily a pep rally for his Republican members.
Of course, the State of the Union has got a role that maybe it doesn't impact it. It isn't understood so well here. It's a critical political moment for presidents in terms of launching their agenda, taking Congress with them, and even impacting on the public. It's one of the few events that really gets noticed. So when you listened to this speech, did you think, well, there is an agenda that can bring back the MAGA movement together, that can turn the tide in the midterms, which are looking quite difficult? What did you think of the content of it?
Yeah. Well, I thought there were cues to MAGA to tout the victories of the last year. That first part where he was rolling through a lot of statistics, especially for Trump, was very much almost a script for Republicans and for the base to try to use this year to tout their successes. As you may know, there's always a lot of back and forth in Washington about how we don't do enough to communicate and to tell our story of what we're doing. And so I think a lot of that was almost fan service in a sense. But even on tariffs, he said, don't take action. It's so rare. Usually the point of this speech is to galvanize Congress to do things. It was extraordinary to hear a president say congressional action will not be necessary. So in a lot of areas, he was inviting Congress to not do anything and just to continue to follow him. So it was interesting how he was cueing them to follow his lead on sort of the promotion of his agenda, but not necessarily to really have a busy year ahead of him. And in other places, he said he doesn't really need anything else from Congress at this point. So he really has been inverting the State of the Union on its head that way.
If you were in the audience, obviously Democrats had this decision whether to sit through somebody they think is, a danger to democracy, or to try to chip in. And some of them obviously made a decision they were going to, as it were, chip in. Do you think that was a political error, actually?
Last year, a lot of media oxygen, you may remember, was taken up by Congressman Al Green of Texas heckling the president and being removed from the chamber. It was a very high-profile moment, and for Democrats, for the leadership, very traumatic. And so the word came down from on high, don't get cute, take it outside, which literally many of them did. They did a rally on the National Mall outside. There's a balance here because a lot of them, they want to be seen on TV reacting. It's good for them. It's good for their fundraising, but they don't want it to take up so much oxygen that it distracts from the president's from things about the president. So it's a balancing act. And I think, Daniel, what really set the tone here was, you may remember in the first term, Speaker Pelosi ripped up his speech. She would clap at him condescendingly. And I think Democrats were continuing to try to, that happens, right? In politics, you keep trying to recreate these moments. And it's going to be really hard to top that because she was so visible behind Trump when he was doing it. So I think they minimized their errors this time. They won't be fully happy with it, with the dramatics, but probably wasn't as much as the Trump team was hoping for. It was better than last year.
So my final question is this. Everyone who writes speeches would love to be involved in a State of the Union, but would you want to write a State of the Union for Donald Trump, or indeed take the politics out of it for someone who speaks for that long?
I can't, I've written, obviously I've written for speakers of the House, and I think I've gone up to 30 minutes. I did help do a paragraph of a State of the Union on healthcare. That's my one State of the Union claim to fame. You would just need a lot of time, and I know they start working on it almost after Thanksgiving in November and December. So, usually you're writing these things 1 week, week to week. So it's just the amount of time to do it. But of course, it's one of the pinnacles of the profession.
Today, our border is secure. After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. In the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where corruption and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. That's why tonight I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them. The only thing standing between Americans and a wide-open border right now is President Donald J. Trump and our great Republican patriots in Congress. Thank you. Thank you. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Yeah. And perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act. To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. The cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant.